So, Derek, Ash, Nintendo Switch 2 editions have been established, and they are paid upgrades that take your existing Switch games and make them better from both a content and a performance perspective. However, there are two different tiers that we know of. There's the free upgrade ones. These ones seem to be being upgraded with game share, maybe performance stuff too. They're kind of vague at the moment. And then there's the ones like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and Kirby and Pokemon. And even they are a little bit mixed, because Pokemon and Metroid are not getting new content. They are getting Switch 2 features, so you can get better resolutions, better frame rates, mouse controls, but they are not adding new content themselves. Kirby is. Zelda isn't really, apart from Zelda notes. So it's all a little bit of a minefield about what should actually count for a Switch 2 edition. But we have ideas for existing Switch games we want to upgrade beyond just the expected performances of faster load times. So, Derek, you've been chuckling to yourself this entire time. I want to know what's rattling along in your mind.
Okay. How dumb do you want me to start?
Let's start pretty dumb. Let's
start pretty dumb. Okay. This is probably my dumbest one. Let's see a Switch 2 edition of Mario and Luigi Brothership. Specifically, and here's the dumb part, let's have a Bowser Jr. mode.
Oh, no, they would. They would too.
They would do that. They would do that.
We could just it could just be Bowser Jr.'s friendship, because that is a big aspect of his character, and seeing what it all is. Maybe they could actually give him decent gameplay rather than the whole commanding thing, but I think it'd still be kind of cool to just maybe pick your allies of from the Koopas, the Goombas, and all that, and see his blossoming relationship with Buddy. I think there's value in that. It's cute, but it's also dumb because it just adds the idea of Mario and Luigi Brothership plus Bowser Jr.'s friendship, and you're just no, stay away. Based on the 3DS remakes.
They would do that though, and that's quite prime potential for a mouse mode. All the Bowser Jr. ones weren't core Mario and Luigi gameplay. They kind of shuffled up a bit. So I think they probably would do something like that if you got a Switch 2 edition. And that game, it needs the performance upgrades. I'd love to see it at 60. I'd love to see it, just not chugging all the time. I'd love the load times to just go away. That's actually a really good choice, to be honest.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that angle. And it's too bad too, because as you said, in the previous Mario and Luigi games, they had a Bowser Jr. subtitle mode. It usually kind of sucks, and it's not really what you go there for. But Bowser Jr.'s arc in Brothership is genuinely heartwarming and cute. And I want to believe they could do something cool with it this time. But as we know, past precedent is not on their side.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a fun one to start us with. I'm going to go with a fairly safe-ish one. This game sold really, really well, and that is Nintendo Switch Sports. They randomly gave us basketball last year, and I would like to see this in 4K, 120 FPS. I think those are both viable. But I also want them to add Frisbee from Wii Sports Resort, on the Frisbee dog back, on Frisbee golf back. Maybe you can add in a few more sports than just Frisbee, but I want to play Frisbee again, man.
I'll raise you one more. How about we finally add Woohoo Island?
Oh,
I think that would get a lot of people interested.
That would get people excited.
Have this hub where it's Woohoo Island that you get to do various stuff on, and yeah, there you go, Natalie. Switch Sports Resort.
Yeah, I mean that could be a whole new game, to be honest. But
that's true.
You could do some mouse-based sports, like maybe chess. You pick up the pieces. That's kind of a sport. Shuffleboard. I don't know.
I guess you do the rubbing back and forth that you do to get. I'm thinking of the winter sport, not shuffleboard. But yeah, that still works.
I guess curling you could also have a mouse mode for bowling and maybe golf as well. But yeah, I think that would be a fairly fun one. But Ash, what's rocking around in your little mind over there?
Well, I want to call out our good buddy Azran, who in live audio chat mentioned a Find a Partner session we had yesterday, and I got to give them full credit for this one. This is not one that I originally thought of, but I really wanted to make sure this got out there because it's such a good idea. And it's also another lesser considered game, Game Builder Garage, specifically for mouse support. I didn't play Game Builder Garage myself because I'm not really the builder type. So I can't speak from necessarily a content perspective, but just in terms of functionality, as Azran mentioned, with the mouse mode, for those people out there still playing Game Builder Garage, I think that would be kind of a cool update. I'm not gonna lie.
This one's actually already confirmed, so it's part of the free update.
Oh, is it? My bad.
Yeah,
I think I forgot it was on the free.
Captain Toad, Odyssey, Game Builder Garage, Brain Training. It's unspecified exactly what they're getting. I imagine in this case, it is just the mouse support. But one thing I'd love for them to upgrade alongside mouse support is actual level sharing.
I was going to say that'd be the most useful thing, even beyond mouse support, is just ability for people to actually see each other's stuff.
And Azra mentioned that too.
Yeah, because you get codes, but who's looking for these codes online? It's not like a shared database, is it? So just to be able to search for levels or QR codes like Zelda's getting for its shared items, like that would be cool. But yeah, the mouse is a natural thing, but I'd love some kind of sharing.
Well, since I actually mentioned one that's already confirmed, even though we don't know exactly what it's adding, I'll go with another dumb one because you know what game doesn't already have enough content? Smash.
What's that?
Obviously.
Oh yeah, of course.
Smash Ultimate, obviously. So I just figured I'd go with another dumb one. And we probably, I assume, can agree that the next new Smash is probably quite a ways off still. Especially given we know Sakurai, if he's going to be on the next Smash, is making Kirby Air Riders right now. So just to tide us all over before the big reboot or whatever that's probably coming, let's get an Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Smash Ultimate with, look, if we wanted to go bare minimum, we could just go 120 FPS. Not that the game really needs it, but we could do that. But you know what? I'm saying let's shoot for the moon. Let's get 120 FPS. Let's get 4K or a simulated 4K. But let's also get a few more characters. We need Xenoblade 3, right? We need a few more stages. Just put a few last little things on top of the giant delicious content cake that is Smash
Master Hand in mouse mode. Mouse mode that controls Master Hand.
Yeah. There you go.
I'd like to have them just have like a blurb about all the various characters for the spirits.
That'd be lovely.
That alone would make me happy, just because there's so many in there, just to get people. Smash has been proven to be a gateway, so let people have an idea of what game they're from, what they could be seen in, that sort of thing.
And throw in a few new spirits from recent Nintendo games that have come out in the interim as well. Just give it one final send off. It's not needed, but like I said, Derek started with a silly one. I figured I'll go with that too.
Yeah, there is also some performance stuff in Smash. One thing that bugs me is when you have all the DLC and you try changing costumes when you first boot up the character select screen.
Oh, true.
They just go blank for a while, don't they? Until they eventually load in. I'd love for that to be resolved.
And not that they would ever do this because Nintendo, but honestly, just roll back netcode or better online at all would sell itself. I'd pay a $20 upgrade literally just for better online because I'm a problem. I'm problematic. But still, we all know how bad the online in that game can be. That alone would justify an upgrade, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, let's come back around to Derek with a new game. What are you thinking, Derek?
All right, which one should I choose next? Let's go with let's go with this one. I'll just stay on the Mario RPG train because I think Thousand Year Door is a pretty obvious one because people are just like, one of the sticking points people have with that game, as gorgeous it is that it is only 30 FPS. So having it be 60 or beyond would definitely help hype people up. But I also remembered that there was something that people were hoping with this game that they would implement that they didn't. And a Switch 2 version with extra content would be a great chance to have a selling point and get people to check it out. And I think you know exactly where I'm going with this,
Luigi.
It's time for Luigi to get that marvelous compass.
Yes.
Just doesn't have to be long. It doesn't just give it as in the same vein as Bowser's Fury or the Shadow Generations. Just a neat 6-hour game. Doesn't have to be much. Just there you go. There's Luigi having his own little adventure. I think that'd be a huge selling point for people.
I'd adore this.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird it wasn't there in the first place because most Switch remakes, re-releases tend to put on some kind of additional campaign, and Thousand Year Door didn't really have anything. It had some quality of life shakeups, but no new content. So this would be a great time to do that.
The only one I'm aware of is that it had a bonus super boss.
But there was a 60 FPS toggle found in the code, right, when this game came out? So maybe it's been lurking there, waiting for
a
Switch 2 edition.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible, but I still think it'd be fun. And like, people would get hyped. Plus, it would give an indication of maybe what the future of Paper Mario will look like, based on what kind of changes they make there. In the same, in the same vein as Bowser's Fury and Shadow Generations.
For sure. Just to finish off the trilogy, Mario RPG, I'm not entirely sure needs a Switch 2 edition. I think just the standard hardware should bump that up to a constant 60, and that's good enough. But I wouldn't mind taking more, but I think that game probably needs it the least.
Sure.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
All right. I am going to talk about a saga for a second. No Xenoblade game is confirmed for a Switch 2 edition. None of them are getting free updates. X just came out, so it feels ultra weird that there's been no talk about upgrading any of those games. And Xenoblade 2 needs it the most. 2 can get real blurry, especially in handheld mode. I'd love for all these games just to be bumped up to 4K if possible. 1440p is probably more likely. 60 FPS would be amazing, because there's been no 60 FPS Xenoblade. And in terms of like new content, it's hard to say exactly what they could do or what they should do, because they're all pretty huge and complete as they are.
Yeah.
Xenoblade
2 could also benefit from changing up the gacha mechanics a bit.
And the field abilities.
Yeah.
The gating,
I think having the legendary cores always guarantee you a new blade would be really, just that one change alone would fix things. Because you can.
I think what they'll do is they'll give you 2 legendary core crystals if you buy the Switch 2 edition, and that's it.
Sure.
I think those games don't need content really. It's just upgrades.
Really don't. I mean, and this was on my list as well. As I was going to say the same that you did, John. 2 needs it the most, but I'd welcome it across the entire series, from Xenoblade 1 Definitive all the way up through Xenoblade 3 and now X Definitive Edition. I mean, I'm playing X Definitive Edition right now, same as you were, John. And as we know, performance can get pretty rough sometimes, especially New LA. So I think the entire Xenoblade series across the board could benefit from just performance and visual upgrades, if not necessarily content ones.
Yeah, there's nothing really for the mouse either. I guess in Xenoblade 1, you have that long arts role. I suppose you could click on it like an MMO, but it's not necessary. That's just something to throw in.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess back to Ash. What are you thinking?
Yeah. So I think one where certainly, obviously, the performance upgrade 1 to 2, where obviously the performance upgrades are needed, but I think you could also justify new content and maybe even a little bit of mouse mode, is Link's Awakening Remake, and to a lesser extent, Echoes of Wisdom. Now, obviously, both games need that performance boost across the board. They can both get pretty choppy. It would be nice to see them both run at a smooth 60 FPS, obviously. But then I think to sweeten the deal, it's not, out of the realm of possibility to throw in like a new dungeon, like a bonus dungeon, maybe some new echoes for the Switch 2 edition of Echoes of Wisdom, some exclusive echoes. But I think you could justify that with like maybe a new bonus dungeon. But also, and I don't know how many people actually ever use this or would go back to use it now, but you could technically add mouse support to the chamber dungeon feature of Link's Awakening Remake, just for something a little extra to take off that. Look, it uses this Switch 2 thing too, even if very few people are actually probably going to use it.
You share them via the amiibo, so any kind of share function would be nice. This is another one. These 2 are both on the free update list, but again, we don't know what they are.
We don't know what they are.
Yeah.
So,
and in this case, I knew they were on the list, but we don't really know what they are, so I wanted to speculate. I assume at the very least, it'll get a performance boost.
Yeah, because both of them are 60 FPS, but neither of them really hit it that often.
Right, it's not
Link's Awakening. Every time you load like new stuff, Link's Awakening dips down to 30 again. But I think the dungeon builders, that's definitely a mouse thing. Echoes of Wisdom is harder to think of new content apart from just echoes, but maybe they'll do a new dungeon or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be something massive, but just something a little extra just to sweeten the deal,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, make something. It's something equivalent to the color dungeon. Would be neat.
Yeah, exactly.
The mouse dungeon. There you go.
The mouse dungeon.
There you go, the mouse dungeon.
What's our gimmick for this console? Cool. That's our gimmick for this.
You play as the floating. I don't remember their name. That floating circle that follows Zelda around. They're the mouse cursor.
Try, right?
Try.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. take us back in the circle, Derek. Have you got any other weirdo ones rocking around?
I got some other weirdo ones. I do have some more standard ones, but my next weirdo, probably my most weirdo one in thinking about it, because it appeals to pretty much nobody but John and I, maybe a few other diehard fans.
That excites me.
But I feel like it'd be cool, but entirely unnecessary. But it's also a bit of preservation. I think Dragon Quest XI-S should get a Switch 2 mode.
I'm into that. I love Switch 2
But here's my extra content.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of extra content? Because it's pretty content complete. There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
Here's the extra. Put in the 3DS mode. The 3DS visuals need to be in there. That way you have the full 3D, you have the classic 2D, and you have the 3DS version. So you now have every version available in this Switch 2 mode for Dragon Quest XI, and a nice way to hold people over until 12 comes out.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. What's funny about 11S is when it was ported to other systems, it was still like Switch downgraded in a way because they had to rebuild the game again for Switch. So they got higher resolutions and higher frame rates, but all the assets were Switch quality. So maybe this is the time to mix out those assets and get the original PS4 version back in there at the same time. But oh man, that 3DS version I would absolutely adore. That it was so charming. But we never got it here. We only got that 2D mode.
Yeah. So
really cool.
I think it'd be kind of cool doing something like that. Again, it seems very niche, but I feel like at least Dragon Quest fans would be like, yes, please.
No, that'd be great.
Natalie's saying that they really wish that 3DS, that third-party games get updates in general, and we know of a few. We know Rune Factory is, we know Tamagotchi is, so there's definitely Switch 2 editions out there for third-party games. And to bounce off what you were saying with Dragon Quest XI, Derek, I had the same thing down for Dragon Quest 3. A boring one, because it's just make it the PS5 version, basically. Make it 60 FPS, make it 4K.
Maybe have special recruits, because why not? Have fun, like a new game plus mode. Here's like characters from like later in the series. Like now here's Elena, Kirill, that sort of thing is your party members rather than the create your own. That's a easy way of maybe doing that. Or even just you have the assets for them, the characters from DQ 1 and 2.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah. I guess just to get one more boring one out there, Metroid Prime Remastered, just do the exact same thing you're doing to Prime 4 to that game. So, 120 FPS performance mode, mouse mode, just all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What are you feeling, Ash?
Another easy, obvious one. I'm going to go back into the Zelda well for this one. In this case, it's not one that's on the confirmed list yet, but it's such an obvious one. Age of Calamity. Obviously, with Age of Imprisonment coming, maybe you don't need it quite as soon, but personally, at least where we are now, Age of Calamity is still my favorite Hyrule Warriors game, or actually really any Nintendo Warriors game. I really loved Age of Calamity, even, despite the horrific performance issues. And really, it's a Warriors game and already has tons of content. This is one of those obvious ones where really all you need to do is just bump up that performance. And in this case, bump it up by a lot. We all know just, during some of those crazier special attacks, the frame would really chug. Like, you go down to like 15, 20 FPS, to say nothing of that split screen multiplayer mode. So I think Age of Calamity, all you really need is just a pure performance upgrade.
Yeah. I do have an idea for an extra mode because I had Calamity down as well.
Okay.
Canon mode. Right. So it actually sticks to the canon and you get sort of what people were hoping. Rather than
changing the game.
just change the game.
Just have an extra story where it ends in the canon way. That's all.
Yeah. I love it. Go play Breath of the Wild.
That would be funny though.
Yeah.
I had the exact same game down. I'd like to see the original in like 4K as well, but that's fine as it is. It's already 60 FPS. It's just with the Age of Calamity ran so poorly, and then you got those levels where you play as the Divine Beasts, and everything is like really low detail, really low frame rate. That stuff needs a big change up. I guess that also brings the question up about whether developers would just make new games or update their old ones, because with Hyrule Warriors, we know there's a new one coming. And that's why I've not mentioned like Splatoon 3, because I'm pretty sure they'll want to save that stuff for Splatoon 4 at this point.
Especially since they're done with their Splatfests and the content's kind of complete. Like I did think about the Splatoon games. I'm like, it's not really a point.
Yeah. Well, you can add mouse mode, but I think it's more impactful to add it with a new game. Otherwise, it's just like we've had it already. Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Another. This is a Nintendo published game, and it's one that I loved from last year, and that is Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. This was a really, really cool game. It's ongoing. They added the Angry Bird recently, alongside Godzilla and Miku, all these other characters. There's performance problems though with this version. It's fine on your own, but when you play multiplayer, it goes down to 30 FPS. That's true for 4-player split screen. It's true for the party mode. And in general, that party mode could do with a bit more of a shuffle up, because the performance wasn't great, but that wasn't really the problem. It just, that stuff wasn't the most exciting part of Banana Rumble. And I want Monkey Target in here. I want a Monkey Target mode where we're just all competing or throwing ourselves at a target, flying over, doing it properly this time. They've tried it a few times in the past. They've never quite got it right. But yeah, Banana Rumble, better performance, Monkey Target. I'd pay $10 for that.
Sounds like a good deal, honestly. Yeah.
Same.
Mouse controls work for Monkey. I guess they could in some party games. Yeah.
I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's been Monkey Snooker. I guess you could, just aim with a mouse with that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, mouse controls would be good for Monkey Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. Agreed.
Yeah. Right. Who's got one they want to shout out then?
I have one. I was asking Amy, my partner, what she might want to see from like a Switch 2 upgrade, and the one that came out her mind immediately, and I don't know. This has a fan base. I don't know among our fans, but if they have a fan base, certainly have a fan base. Disney Dreamlight Valley, and I've watched her play, is awful on the Switch.
I bet
it is. It chugs so badly. The load times are like 20 seconds for certain things. It is just awful to play. It just is not optimized whatsoever. This thing needs a Switch 2 version desperately in order to actually be viable in handheld. Basically, I want it for her because it is like she really enjoys the game, but it does not play well, and it's quite ugly. So I feel like this is definitely something that probably will happen. Like, why wouldn't it? So there is that at the very least. That's why I didn't, it's not too high up on the list, but I think it's still very much deserved. But for another game that's similar, but also doesn't quite appeal to me, but I think a lot of people would want to see it. Animal Crossing New Horizons. People wanted extra content for that game. I think a Switch 2 version adds in maybe some of the extra modes, some New Leaf or some ideas. Let's get Puzzle League in there.
Yeah,
I think that makes it
10
times better. All that extra stuff that we've seen from the past games, just get it in the game as well. And here you go. Here's some new content for you Animal Crossing fans that you've been desperately wanting for God knows how many years now.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in your house, I guess you can just go to mouse mode and just shuffle all the furniture around in real time. Rather
be
than
great
having
for Happy Home Designer. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. The big thing about Animal Crossing is the load times. They're awful in New Horizons. You have to load the game for a minute, and then you get to the title screen, and then you load for like 30 seconds to see Isabelle, and then you load for like another 30 seconds, and then you're on your island finally. But if you're playing online though, you all wait like a minute when every person joins. So there's so much downtime in that game. But this was another Splatoon kind of one where I was thinking, like, would they save this stuff for a new game? Would they update the previous one? I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know. I imagine they probably do want to make sure to have a new Animal Crossing ASAP, but they also have, it's very different audiences, but we do, have the new, I'm blanking on its name, but the sequel everybody's been hoping for.
Oh, Tomodachi Life.
Tomodachi.
Yeah.
I had Miitomo in my head for some reason.
I mean, speaking of Tomodachi Life, both that and Rhythm Heaven, they're for sure getting Switch 2 versions, right? Like,
oh yeah.
120 FPS Rhythm Heaven. That sounds.
So it's funny. I had exactly that on my list as a silly one because it's not even coming out till next year. But I agree. I'll just get it out there. Yeah, of course. I was thinking that.
Makes sense.
I have one, or a pair actually, to kind of piggyback off of what you said, Derek, about Disney Dreamlight Valley. There's a pair of third-party games that are severely compromised on Switch 1 compared to pretty much every other platform you can play them on. And I'm talking about both Rocket League and Fall Guys. Now, I don't know if they'll actually call them Switch 2 editions, but if you've ever played either of those games on anything other than Switch, you know that playing them on Switch is just a severely compromised experience. And now Fall Guys, obviously its heyday is its peak has kind of passed. People are still playing it, so you could make an argument for it. But Rocket League, it's obviously still extremely popular. But man, Switch is not where you want to play it. And if you've only played it on Switch, you don't know what you're missing. I mean, PS5 has 120 FPS. Obviously, to say nothing of Steam or PC, and I think with the Switch 2 edition, you can easily get that up there. Just, much better performance. It looks like butt on Switch 1. It just needs Rocket League is a very clean-looking game anyway, but the Switch version ain't it. It's just severely compromised performance-wise, and both of those games, I think, really could use just a facelift and a performance boost on Switch 2.
Yeah. Rocket League, I imagine, would go the Fortnite route where they just make a brand new game rather than like a new edition.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I can't imagine they do that for Fall Guys. Maybe just an upgrade, like a patch or something. But Rocket League, I would imagine, would be a brand new one.
Yeah. Both 3D Marios are on the free patch list. So 3D World and Odyssey are. I imagine that they're mainly for game share. So you'll be like 3D. Well, we've seen an example of it in the trailer. That you can just share your game with anyone, play it online, play it locally. Odyssey, I guess you'd game share too, because Cappy's co-op.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, yeah.
So I hope they get performance upgrades. I'd love to see. So in Bowser's Fury, when you play handheld mode, it's 30 FPS. Doctor's 60 handles 30, which is really unusual. Like not many games do that. So I'd love for them to make that 60. Make the games 4K. That'd be lovely. But I don't think you really need new content in either of those. Because obviously 3D Mario's coming. We don't really need to touch up Odyssey with new stuff.
I do have one other 3D Mario game in here, which was Super Mario 3D All-Stars. That should get a Switch 2 edition, just for one, to have it go back, but also make it complete. Put Galaxy 2 in there.
That's true. And sell it again. Just sell it again.
Exactly. It would be so funny if they didn't sell it again. They sold the upgrade, but you can't actually buy the base game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Why not?
Yeah. Natalie mentions The Witcher 3 on Switch, which that makes sense. I mean, Cyberpunk's coming, so and they did a next-gen upgrade for PS5, so that's a very logical one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about Mario Maker, but I think Mario Maker 3 is just the way to go.
Yeah,
I
just
agree.
make a new game in that case.
Yeah, just like make it build the interface around the mouse, get new themes. Like I'd rather not go back to 2. I'd rather they just start from scratch.
Mm-hmm. Can you guys think of anything that would be necessary for Mario Wonder?
Oh yeah,
really? Add like a new character or just performance upgrade or.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, that game's prime for it, right? Like you can make that 120 FPS, you can make that 4K. That'd be lovely. I think Mario Wonder lacked that impact at the end.
That's
because it's a joyful game, but you have that one really hard level, but that's all you're really left with, and you're kind of just yearning for more of a challenge, more of something to latch onto, but it doesn't really have that.
Yeah,
and it never had DLC. Neither did Pikmin 4. I think. Logically, they're probably waiting for this.
Yeah, I think Wonder is, as much as I enjoyed it, it's a game that really needed a bit more content than it had. It felt very like you said, John. Not only did it not have that that feeling of that oomph at the end, but it just kind of felt like it all ended very quickly anyway. It just felt like it could have been one more world longer, maybe. It just felt a little bit short, and certainly shorter than what I expected. So.
Doesn't help that 2 of the worlds ends in no boss fight.
That too, yeah.
Right.
So I could totally see maybe a little bit new content, maybe another world or set of levels or something. I think you could justify that.
What's especially weird is New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is the game that's on the free patch list, not Mario Wonder.
Right.
I guess game share. I guess just play online with people. That's something new for Mario U Deluxe, but. Mario Wonder doesn't have traditional online co-op either. So if you game shared, you would be able to play properly together rather than just racing and ghosts. So that would be cool. But yeah, I think a new world is really what's needed. Just a challenge world. Something kind of like what New Super Mario Bros. 2 had with those devious DLC levels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shawshock did mention Metroid Dread, how it's getting a resolution boost, which... Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm trying to think of what other content you could add to Dread, because it feels so
feels pretty content complete.
Yeah, Metroid just needs a Metroid 5 rather than or Metroid
6.
Metroid 6 rather than a Dread upgrade.
We got Dread mode, and what do you do beyond Dread mode other than I don't even know.
Yeah.
Zero suit mode.
There's some stuff in Metroid Dread I'd like to see enhanced, like the fire effects. I think were 30 FPS. I'd like that to just be ironed out, but it's not a big deal. That game's pretty as it is.
If we want to go pie in the sky with it, Ravenbeak mode, where we get to play as Ravenbeak in a side story.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, I'd take it. I'd take it. Yeah.
Talking about Wonder just now, Pikmin 4 also never got DLC, and it felt like it probably should have. But a mouse mode for Pikmin would feel really natural.
Yeah, actually.
Pikmin 1, 2, and 3 with Wii controls pretty much were mouse controls. You know, you got free aim. Pikmin 4 made it a lot more automatic. I'd love just to have that kind of manual feel to aiming around with the mouse.
Same.
I think that makes so much sense.
Yeah, agreed. One that's already on the confirmed list that I want to speculate about it quickly is Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. Now, I assume that they're probably going to add mouse controls to some of the games where it makes sense. Game sharing, those are the two obvious things. But I mentioned this as well in my Fight a Partner with Azrian yesterday. One of my pet peeves about that game, I love it, and I played a lot of it, is that you have to use Joy-Con. I can't just sync a Pro controller and play even something like Ludo, which doesn't. It's fine. Just let me use whatever controller I want. I don't think you can even use a GameCube controller. So, given that we know Clubhouse Games is getting an update, besides the obvious stuff I'd mentioned, Nintendo just patch in the ability to let me use whatever controller I want. It's such a bummer when I've got people over and we want to play something on it, but we don't have enough Joy-Cons. It's like, just let us use whatever we want. Come on.
Yeah.
So,
that's a really logical one. Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right. That was the prime showcase for Game Share when they showed it off. So you get different views for the
right.
What do they call Uno? Last card is what they call Uno in that game.
Yeah.
So it seems Game Share is the main thing, but I'd love just more flexibility in that game. That'd be wonderful. Yeah. Do we have more? Because there's a lot of Switch games. So how deep do you want to go with this? I can see Derek's itching for one more there.
No. I'm like running over my I'm running over my own personal list of games and just seeing like which ones I'd like to see. And there's some that you could just do stuff with, but I don't have any specific ideas. Like your Mario sports games, your Strikers, your tennis, your golf, but
none of them need it really.
Not really. I feel like you just make a new one at that point.
Yeah,
a bit more exciting, or get a little bit more inspired by world and whatnot. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I think that's probably us tapped for now. Then there is a lot more Switch 1 games that could get a Switch 2 edition. When it comes to some like third-party stuff from years ago, like Doom, it's too late for that stuff. I can't see that happening at this point. But I think we've got a pretty good selection of first-party games that will.
I like how you say it's been too long for Doom, but I'm tossed in Dragon Quest 11.
I mean,
right?
Nintendo published it, so it's more likely.
True.
Yeah.
How do you see the rollout working? So we know Switch 2 is launching with the Zelda Switch 2 editions. Do you think this is something we're going to get throughout the entire life cycle? Like 4 years from now, they have more Switch 2 editions, or is this a rather short-term thing?
This feels 2 years max.
Yeah, I can't. I don't see it being something that happens throughout the whole life cycle of the Switch 2. I agree with Derek. Maybe a couple of years max, but I don't think it's going to continue to be something that's like a prime feature of the Switch 2.
Yeah, kind of pads out that early library to get rid of droughts, I guess. But yeah, it's pretty exciting to get brand new content in some of these games. I was a bit iffed when I first saw Kirby's mode because it just seemed like they were reusing all the levels again. But then you watch the Treehouse stuff, and it's the same level, but it's like Luigi U, where it's entirely remixed with new platforms, new elements, new gimmicks. So I'm pretty excited for what some of these games are adding. Yeah.
I'm genuinely so excited. That might be one where I just replay the whole game because it was so delightful. But to just play the whole thing again at 60 FPS and then enjoy all this new content, that's one of the ones where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm down for a double dip. Like, just play the whole game again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So that's a whole bunch of Switch 1 games that we want to see upgraded on Switch 2. Of course, with backwards compatibility, most games will most likely just get technical upgrades, or at least they'll reach their locked peak. But these are the ones we want to see properly enhanced with also some new stuff. But let us know what you want to see down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to join that live audience box right over there, you can for just $5 a month over on our Patreon. So thank you so much again, everyone, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.